Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Youth and Young Adult Ministries focused info session on CARP. And today we have Teresa, CARP President for America, to share about CARP. We'll give her a chance to share, and then we'll have a Q&A right after that. All right, so Teresa, you're on.
All right. So, hi everyone.
Hi. Howdy.
Good to see you. Howdy. That's how they say in the Midwest, huh? Yeah. So I just came out of the CARP board and staff retreat. So everything that I'm showing you has been just shared with them. So I want to just start by kind of updating you where CARP is at. I'm sure, a number of you maybe were in CARP as students or have heard about things that have been happening. So now Kimi, to confirm, this is kind of to share where CARP is at?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then any other questions people might have, so that's fine.
Yeah. All right, so I'll go through kind of national headquarters and kind of our vision and direction, as well as what's going on the ground in local chapters. So first of all, here is some of our local staff. Myself as president, Taka Sugawara, who's at our headquarters with national headquarters. Jennifer Pierce, who's based out of LA, and she's our program assistant. She does a lot of support for members. So if you have students working with CARP, they will most likely be working with her. So just want to put her name out there. She also does CARP locally with CARP LA. So she's a great resource. And then we also have a part-time bookkeeper on our staff. So our mission is to inspire and empower students to be global citizens by studying, applying, and sharing the unification principle. And I'm going to go through each of these areas. And our vision is students stand for a culture of heart. So breaking down the mission, we've been working on really clarifying who is CARP's target audience. So we've defined it as undergraduate college students. And of course, anybody who's on campus is kind of included in that as well. We really see our role as impacting the nation through impacting the college campuses. And we believe that if you move the college campuses, that's, some people refer to it like that's where the culture wars happens. A lot of what's seen on campus shows up in society first on the campuses. So in the mission, looking at what we're defining as a global citizen. So somebody who has a heart for others, who stands for others. People, we're very aware of what this term means, right? True Father's autobiography as a peace-loving global citizen. And so how to be like that, how to use examples like True Father and True Mother, and as well as, peace pacifists and these great people that we can aspire to be, that we too can be those people. So helping students see themselves as that way, really see the bigger picture. And I really feel like there's a few aspects of empower students to study it themselves, apply it in their lives, so make it real, and then share it, right? So whether that's through their papers or they're sharing with people about what they believe, or just presenting the principal perspective on anything, right? So just empowering students to be able to do that. So that's kind of the gist of that. We also feel like so much of sharing, that's where the real leadership development happens, right? So even this idea and concept of tribal messiahship, right? If we put it into a student context, it's building your tribe on campus, it's building your network, right? So our students are connecting to key players on campus, connecting to their dean, their professors, to other clubs, to their classmates, and that these relationships are so key, right? Then looking at unification principle, we intentionally use this term, unification principle, because we have that include divine principle as well as unification thought, world scripture, True Parents Life Course, an example, and So we hope to provide resources in these different areas. Even recently at Famicon at the leaders meeting, your mother mentioned, we need an update of the divine principle, the exposition of the divine principle, which was written, intended for a Christian audience. So it's very kind of high level, but so many of the students don't necessarily have a biblical background. There's a lot of interface. And so how do we present the principled perspective? How do we really present Chupran's teaching in different ways? So our vision is really this, I've been going back and forth, but the essence is they stand for a principled world. And we're also trying to use language that we can really share on the campuses. But in essence, kind of here, I feel like there are three core things that we stand for in CARP. One, we stand for God, right? It's always clear, right? And we can convey that through championing Godism. So the God at center of everything, what does that look like? The second thing is we stand for true parents and their vision. And so again, you can call this head wing, right? This idea of not right wing, left wing, but kind of in this parentism. This idea of one family under God, world peace, harmony, mutual prosperity. It's really championing that, the principled perspective. And we stand for true love as God intended. So, really looking at standing for sexual purity before marriage. And I'm really excited going into this direction of, the question that CARP asks and answers is, what do you stand for? It's like that quote, if you don't stand for anything, you fall for nothing, something like that. So we basically have three main goals we're working on this year. First one is, and this model is kind of created understanding. I've heard before, Father used to have three kind of directions for leaders. One, you needed to inspire people. Two, you needed to influence people. And three, you needed to create a financial foundation so that you could be sustainable. So we're kind of adopting that model as the three areas that we want to focus on. We want to inspire people with principled education, right? So all the different activities and events that we do. And the second thing, we want people to live a principled lifestyle, right? So we want them to start taking principled actions, to start living for the sake of others, start sharing the principle. And the third area is we want to be sustainable so that we can continue long into the future. And we don't need to take excessive resources, but it can really be owned. So when we break those things down, Inspire with Principled Education, we're focusing on chapter support. So this year we want to have 21 plus registered chapters. We've been focusing on having all CARP chapters registered with their university, right? Because that requires you have to apply with the SGA, you have to get a faculty advisor, you have to get a number of other students to be a registered club. And what that does, that already gets you in a place of sharing and talking with other people and, articulating your vision. Sometimes this is like really hard to do. And we also want to expand kind of what membership looks like so that even if, there's a lone BC or CARP member at a university, they can still kind of be a stand there, kind of like a CARP rep at their university. So really to empower, obviously, our second generation when they're going to school, that they can be able to stand for God and for Chupran, stand for the principle, right, in a real way. Second area is to provide student resources so that they can do that. So to engage with principle content, but also to start to figure out how they can make that stand. Maybe it's, here are 5 ways to talk to a friend about the principal perspective on this. So these are some of the things that we want to work on, as well as sharing, there's tons of resources out there, but, maybe it's not so connected to our students. And then look at our guest speaker network. So this is kind of, we have so many experts and educators in the local area. Even all of you on this call, right, could be a guest speaker at a local CARP chapter, right, to share this principled perspective in your area of study or career or something like that. So providing this network that could empower and invigorate, stimulate chapter growth and development. In the area of influence, we want to, you know, a lot of the Hundike about CARP, you know, Father's saying that the success of the unification principle will be based on worldwide academia. So we want to start to introduce the idea of unification principle in papers. So I'm finishing my master's and I'm working on my final paper, and in my master's program for public administration nonprofit, we have to create some kind of innovation. My innovation is creating a program for students to apply unification principle in their papers. And it's interesting because, you know, I'm using the journals of unification studies, so I have NODA and Anderson in there, and I'm already doing it. But it's interesting because I get to engage now with my professor who's like, okay, what are unification principles? And it starts a conversation. So it's really interesting. It's great. Second area is we really want to champion stories. Stories are powerful and they move people. So when you hear an example of another student who is demonstrating principle, who is sharing in this way, it's like, okay, I can see myself doing that. I can do that. So we want to share more of these examples because it, you know, when you hear other people, you're empowered by that. And then we want to influence people to make a commitment to purity. On the sustainable model aspect, we want to manage our finances and resources with financial oversight. So we have a very active board of directors that helps us manage those things and keeps us in line and check. How are we staying sustainable? Also using a donor-centered fundraising approach. So really empowering people to feel part of this change on campus, and then to create leadership and systems development in all levels of the organization, nationally and locally. So we were also looking at, you know, what's the relationship between Family Fed and CARP, right? So I think it's always good to kind of look at them next to each other. So we kind of have the mission and vision there together. And then even, you know, understanding Family Fed goals. So, you know, I like to explain it this way. CARP does it all, right? So if we have the three main themes for that Mother has announced as the goals, is Family Fed worldwide, is witnessing, creating an environment for witnessing and youth. I feel like we do all of them. So I think it's important to look at the Family Fed goals, and then how can we contribute, right? So CARP is its own, it's a providential organization, its own entity, and how can we contribute to the bigger vision, really connected to Mother, and really support creating Channel Gook Vision 2020. So, you know, we've been looking at this in terms of Family Fed's goal of 1 million Americans blessed, right? So helping the youth to really prepare for the blessing well, right? So purity pledges is, you know, really advancing this culture of sexual purity. And then, of course, through associate members and core members, one area that we really are working on is that when students graduate and leave CARP, it's a natural place to really be a part of Family Fed, to be a part of some of these other affiliate organizations, CPF, Women's Fed, ACLC. And so we really want to be able to connect them and keep them engaged in principle. And of course, be a pipeline for the 50% of young leaders in the future. I was talking with Angelica Selly with Women's Fed the other day, and she was like, you know, can I have your CARP graduates, because they have all this training and experience really inheriting and practicing true love, right? Creating a culture of heart. And so you take these students who are really kind of clear about who they are, understanding the principle. They're powerful anywhere, right? Of course. So we're really excited to do that. And then even looking at, I'm sure it's been a question for so many people, what's the difference between young adult ministry and CARP? So again, I put these side by side. Target audience, YAM is very kind of broad in age, but CARP is really targeted towards the campus, towards registered students. especially undergraduate. And so we can kind of see the distinction here, what it's focused on. And I just, part of really clarifying who we are and what we're doing, we're really going to be focusing on this global citizen aspect. And if people have noticed, we kind of have two different logos that have been used before, but really to focus on this, and which is also the international logo. So kind of connect to that. And we're doing these international trips, so this kind of helps us reconnect to them as well. In terms of national programs, we have a summer momentum leadership retreat. So CARP leaders who are active or interested in getting started, that's kind of the time before the start of the new school year to get engaged and get all the resources and training that they need. This summer, we're also hosting an intercultural trip to Japan and Korea, connecting with CARP leaders, Japan and Korea, and all over the world coming together. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. We also have a couple of presentations. So looking at, in specific areas, what is the principal perspective? So these presentations in these 5 areas, worldview, thought trends, education, love and sexuality, media, are meant to be resources. So we've created these PowerPoint outlines that any student can use and kind of give a talk, right? We have a script. So these are being made available in the next week or two. And this could be a great introduction to, here's the taste of the principal perspective. Come to our DP study to learn more. And we also, in terms of chapter support, doing communication, reporting, we do provide twice a month calls for our chapter leaders to hear from each other, to share best practices and kind of develop that sense of support, and then working on resources again. So this is always the exciting part. We have 15 registered chapters. So you can see the list. I'm going to go through all of them now, just quickly. But first, just to understand, what does CARP do? So each of these chapters, the first point, every chapter has some kind of general meeting, right? Weekly or kind of every 2 weeks, a regular meeting where they discuss and share about some unification principle topic. So some of them are a little bit different. Some read some passages maybe from Father, from World Scriptures, from Mother Teresa, and then they discuss them. So it's kind of this theme, and they're kind of guiding the discussion. Some of them do CARP talks, where they share a testimony how they practice the unification principle in their life, and then discussion on how I can apply it in my life this week. So they all do that. And then as chapters grow, some do kind of special events like seminars where they bring in guest speakers, where they have professors speak also about, kind of framing some kind of principled perspective. So this is a way to also pull them in. They have social activities, as well as, as they get larger and they do service or some kind of campus impact event project to give back. And each kind of level of growth, they're always managing the campus relationships, partnering with other clubs, partnering with faculty, the SGA, getting money from the SGA is always really exciting. And then many chapters also from this kind of broad discussion invite people to a deeper study, whether that's one-on-one, a DP small group, or some kind of weekend workshop. So there's always kind of like a, invitation to go deeper, as well as providing kind of a broad, open to everyone kind of offering. So at the University of Bridgeport, they have regular meetings. This is also one of their special events that they did. They did an interfaith forum bringing together pastors of different faiths, and they did this on around Valentine's Day. So they're, what is true love from these different religious experiences. And then in Bay Area, they have also kind of like a discussion Ignite program, and they do this in collaboration with the local church. So, a number of church members come. They're able to draw on, the educators in the area like Bento Leal, who often speaks on campus, speaks at their kind of bigger community discussion nights. So that's been really powerful. So they can kind of, go deeper, which they call their UP seminar, Unification Principle Seminar. So it's been really exciting, and they've been able to reach out to a lot of guests. They connect with other clubs, and it's been a great way to engage others. We also have CARP at an Ivy League at Cornell, and they've been, small but steady. So they've been engaging in different activities there. Also at Grand Rapids Community College, this is like one of the most exciting chapters. We have Joshua Casilli, and they have weekly meetings, and he's really, he and his family and his team has really expanded and reached out to a lot of people. So they have a lot of members in their club who are interfaith, and so they have a lot of really engaging discussions. And I'm really excited. So Joshua has been in Grand Rapids, Michigan, has been working with CARP in Chicago, which is getting started, and they're planning a kind of weekend retreat focused on DP and unification thought. I think Jerry Shabito is coming. And so he sent a proposal to a school, and he got $1,700 for this retreat. And the school said, if you bring more people, we'll give you more money. So in essence, right, they're giving money for principled education. This is so cool. Joshua is also, really inspired about bringing like 20, 30 people from his school to this event. So it's really exciting to see students being such a powerful stand in the world and in their communities. They also, we're engaging in these social events. They're partnering with other clubs and just bringing in all these diverse people together. And for a community college, sometimes connection is really lacking. So they provide these spaces where people can really go deeper. So as you can see, they have a real presence on campus. And, it's always, we also stand for excellence, right? So students being great students as well as great people who give back. So Joshua, he's in the picture on the right. He was nominated for the MLK Junior Service Award at school, and their chapter was also nominated for Chapter of the Year. So we're really proud of them, and what an impact that he's made, right? What an honor just that is to be nominated. In CARP Las Vegas, we have 2 chapters there. One is at UNLV, and they have weekly meetings at their CARP Center. It brings like 50 people every week. They've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years now, and it's really been growing. And so this really creates a sense of tightness and community there. I'll just go through some of these. Also at the local community college, they have another chapter. Just last week, they had this event on campus. They partnered with other clubs, kind of faith-based clubs, and they had a talk on sex and morality. They had over 100 people there. They had one psychology professor speak. They had one of the dean, and then they had Andrew Love come in. It was a really great event. Everybody was pretty much, on the same page. Casual sex, is it worth it? No. Standing for true love. And they're going to have another event at UNLV next week. So really excited about that. We also host each semester a 2-day workshop and a 7-day. CARP LA, there's also a huge, a lot of chapters there. So kind of similar programs, discussions, and engaging with people, all these different chapters. Yay! It's really cool. They also have a CARP high school club that meets. There's quite a number of VCs that go to one high school, public high school. So they meet together. HARP is an official club there. And they meet together and read DP. I think it's so cool. Let's see. Yeah, just the activity, CARP has been really developing. Also early in the month, CARP LA all their different chapters came together, and then they were working with ACLC and the local church to host this big kind of rally event. And this lady, the kind of blonde lady, she's the president of Cypress College, where, we have a CARP chapter. They've been able to develop a relationship with her. So she came to the event and spoke and, has this great relationship with all the students and the club. So this is also a way to connect them to the bigger vision, right? To kind of connect with Women's Fed or other things that are going on. We also have NGIT in New Jersey, CARP Northlake in Dallas. Yeah, so everybody's doing really exciting things, really growing in their local community. As mentioned, we're gearing up this summer for the CARP Hyojung trip. This started 2 years ago with 36 people. Last year we brought 120. And then, you know, there's kind of been a trend. So somebody reported, oh, next year they'll also do 3 times as much, 360. So that's what we're preparing for. We've, you know, us going to Japan and Korea, working with CARP Japan and Korea has really kind of invigorated them and made them prepare, right? So we have all these people coming, oh, we should, you know, do something too and prepare. So the dates this year are June 25th to July 11th. You can go online, carplife.org/HJ2018. If you have any questions, Jennifer Pierce is kind of the contact person. So you can sign up with the interest form. I wanted to invite anybody who's interested. We are doing Friday evening prayer calls at 9 p.m. Eastern to prepare for this trip. So you can email me if interested, and I can send you all that sign-on links. And then for this trip, you know, just generally the schedule, where, you know, some of the team leaders, because there's so many people, will basically have team leaders for every 8 or so people to come early. But basically most people will leave on June 25th, arrive in Japan on the 26th. We'll start off with kind of a 2-day workshop given by kind of the premier Japanese lecturers, Reverend Kachi and Reverend Nakamura. We'll have kind of the condition to come on this trip is that you have, you know, some basic understanding of principle, and that here it kind of be an intermediate principle lecture, or you could go to the advanced one. So depending on where you're at. So kind of, you know, to get educated, to really set the trip on right foot. Then we'll go spend some time with Japan CARP, going to Waseda University, which is where Father went to school. And they're preparing for a 1,000-person rally. So we'll be joining them, you know, and just kind of being on campus, doing some pilgrimages. And then we'll go, this is a really cool part of the program. Each team will go to a different Japanese CARP center, and they'll stay there for a day or two. So doing service, kind of interacting and sharing best practices, you know, learning how to teach principle in their small teams, and of course sightseeing. And then we'll head to Korea on July 4th, staying in Cheonggyeong, doing some more sightseeing, going to the DMZ to do some kind of symposium for reunification North South Korea, and then hopefully visiting, seeing True Mother, visiting her at the palace of Cheonggyeong. And then we'll kind of wrap up and reflection and making plans for coming back, you know, starting a chapter, creating some kind of program, and then back to Japan, and then have a day of sightseeing. We usually go to Disneyland and Tokyo, and then we leave back to America on the 11th. So I know it's a lot. You have more info, carplife.org/HJ2018. And again, email myself or Jennifer at carplife.org, or Teresa at carplife.org. I know that was a lot, but there you go.
All right. Thank you,
Broad
Teresa.
overview.
That was quite a lot. As you can see, there's a lot going on with CARP. I'd like to open it up for any questions or comments.
It's inspiring to know there's so much going on. I haven't really heard that. I mean, in Virginia, there's not really a new CARP, so I know Maryland has some, but it's good to hear that there's a lot of new stuff happening, and it looks exciting.
Yeah.
I know if I was in college, I would be doing that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when I was a freshman in college, I was like, CARP is not cool, right? So I didn't want to get involved. But I think, you know, when you see other examples, you're like, all right, you know, I can try that. So I think, you know, even though it may not be in Virginia or a number of places yet, the more we hear about it, the more it's like you feel good about it. So I think that's a big point. Thanks.
I think you also have, it looks like there's more of a platform to create one yourself. Like there's a way to, like when I was in college, I was by myself in Savannah, Georgia, and there wasn't really a way to bring CARP to by yourself, I think. But now you have much more of a resource as an individual. They could talk to somebody and figure out how to bring that into their own school, which is really neat. So.
Yeah. Right.
Also, one point is that a lot of the CARP chapters are also getting support from some of the Kodan moms. I think that's an important point, is that there is parental support for a lot of the CARP chapters that are doing well. It's not always the case, but we are kind of partnering with Kodan and also encouraging chapters to find parental advisors as well.
Yeah. And, you know, it wasn't emphasized in this presentation, but because, you know, Kodan's been often witnessing, and a lot of, you know, members have been witnessing and have kind of these young first generation students. And so CARP has been a great way to engage and, like, you know, because you always need a tribe. You need people who are like you, right? So we do have a number of guests, right, that become closer and closer in studying DP and join the movement. We have so many great stories, and I think that's also so inspiring for especially our second gen to see new life and to see, oh, okay, you believe in this too, and you've been here a month, okay. You know, it kind of it makes them like do a double take on stuff that they, you know, we grew up hearing, but kind of understanding at a deeper level.
Yeah, do you know what the percentage is right now on the 360 trip in terms of young first gen versus second gen?
I don't have that right now, but I'm going to LA tomorrow and we're going to look into that.
Okay. I think last year was like 40-60 or something like that. So it was like a lot of young first generation even went onto the trip last year. So
right. And like they went on this trip and they're surrounded, you know, by these great people. And, you know, it's at that point that they commit to being involved. So like the Cypress College, where this college president, you know, of the school came to the event. It's because, you know, people went to the CARP trip and they decided to start the chapter after that trip. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and both for the first gen, but also the second gen who go. I mean, how often do you get to go on a trip with young first gen, you know, and to engage freshly in principle from an open, broad perspective, and then to have a dialogue even in that, it's like, it's quite an amazing experience. So if there are any college students, you know, in every kind of sub-region, this is a great way to like plug them in and get them really re-inspired or recommitted to do something in your community. So this is also a really good opportunity to encourage people to go to.
And they build such tight bonds. I mean, right? If you're traveling internationally with people for 2 weeks, so they go back and they know they have this support system. Yeah.
How about Tammy and then Christelle? I'd like to hear from each of you.
I don't necessarily have any questions that are jumping out at me, but I did have an opportunity to visit the Las Vegas CARP chapter when I was there for FamiCon, and that was like, that was probably my first experience being part of something like that. They had one of their you know, weekly sessions where they were discussing a topic on the DP, and luckily we were warned that, not warned, but we were notified that most of these are first gen college students. So it just really had me take on a whole different perspective in discussing things kind of newly, because it's not like everyone has the same foundation, but we're all talking about the same thing. which was just, it kind of blew me away, to be honest, which is really exciting. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement in, seeing CARP grow. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, our subregion grow in other areas as well with CARP. And yeah, I guess that was my one question, was like, for the states that don't have chapters, what's available to them. And I guess I just got that answered.
Yeah, that's, this past year we've been focusing on stabilizing chapters, but we also want to, really provide support for individuals as well, so that they can, be a stand. So creating more of those resources. And, we can, opportunities like this on Zoom, they can join that, right? It doesn't matter where they are. So just creating opportunities for them to engage in that way and interact.
Another point I do want to mention is that last March was when we officially started the young adult ministry. And until then, CARP kind of had multiple roles. It was like responsible for, although we're supposed to be on campus, we're also like supposed to take care of second generation. And it was kind of tough, but with developing or launching young adult ministry, it allowed CARP to really focus in on campus and on students, current students. So I think by CARP being able to focus more, they're really able to make a deeper impact. So young adult ministry is designed to really catch all young adult unificationists, whereas CARP can really focus on those who really want to be representative on campus to study and share the principle. All
Thanks, Danny.
And Christelle.
Yeah, actually, my only question was along those lines, was to just kind of reclarify the distinction between YAM and CARP. Because it's obvious that CARP is mainly focused now on students, but like the distinction of I guess its role, I guess in that area, I guess. But yeah, just kind of to reclarify the difference of what CARP does versus YAM. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times, like, YAM is focused on for unificationists, but a lot, like Tammy was sharing, a lot of times people come to CARP maybe don't consider themselves unifications yet because they've been just introduced to it, to the principle and are learning and growing. So I think also now that young adult ministry is established, when people really want to take on this unificationist identity, it's like they can be part of young adult ministry, part of Family Federation. So I think we're also developing, how to make that into a partnership. We can kind of share it broadly and then really be able to refer them or, into kind of the next step, right? Towards the blessing, towards those areas.
Yeah, so to be clear, young adult ministry is for the unificationists, young adults. CARP is kind of the main like outreach and witnessing organization within the youth activities. And it's a chance for people to really go deep in understanding principle. And also that happens for second gen too, when they have a chance to share it with others, they themselves get much more deep, more than in youth ministry, young adult ministry. When you have to share it fresh with a non-unificationist, you really have to understand the principle, and there's a different kind of dynamic there. So yeah, we're still developing the kind of the relationship, how each of these entities work. But in the next call, we're going to also introduce Youth and Students for Peace, which is a whole nother organization that has a different kind of role in this big puzzle. But CARP is really a core, I would say, among the different ones, it's really leadership in your ability to share the principle with others. Yeah, especially with non-unificationists.
So I also want to acknowledge that not everyone who's in CARP will become a unificationist, but we create a clear net, kind of channel as people are studying and, are moved and touched. This is really a lifestyle and kind of a commitment and stand that they can take on.
All right, thank you, Christelle. And Reverend Rendell, I'd like to hear from you.
Can you hear me? I'm on my phone.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having all kinds of internet problems here for some reason. I really don't have many questions. I'm excited about this. And Teresa, I will call you separately about Chicago.
Yeah.
I talked to those guys yesterday, and there's a couple issues we need to discuss. But I think Chicago is really making a good start. And working with Josue has been fantastic. So he's a miracle worker. He's done a great job.
Oh, yeah. Sent by God.
He's a great preacher too. He's got a really amazing little church there too. So
yeah.
So I'll give you a call probably tomorrow. Okay.
Awesome.
Anyway, I think I'm very, very inspired by CARP. We went through a very tough number of years with CARP. Even when Naokimi first got involved with CARP, it was quite unclear. As you know, Teresa, you were kind of involved from the beginning.
He brought it back to life.
He did, and you too. I mean, you've done a marvelous job. So I think also the spirit world's helping tremendously. It's the young people now are really rising up, and I think God is behind all of that. So I think this is very, very exciting. So thank you.
Thanks, Reverend Rendell.
Thank you, Reverend Rendell. Reverend Rendell's my mentor. He kind of guides me whenever I kind of go off track. So it's good to have him around.
But now Kimmy's my coach. So.
All right. So Teresa, any final? Well, before I get to final comments, I just want to give everyone else here another chance. Is there anything else you guys want to either ask or say about CARP?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
Tammy?
So your goal was 22 chapters and there's 15 now. So are there budding chapters or in the making?
Yeah, we have. So if you join our prayer calls on Friday night, we go through all of our chapters and chapters in development. So we have Reverend Rendell was talking about Chicago CARP. That's one that's really getting started. So we're really excited to support them in becoming registered. And there's so we have support for registered chapters and support for chapters in development because there's very different needs. So we work with them as well very closely. So once somebody expresses to us they're interested, Jennifer works with them. We have a video series of here are the things to think through as you want to get started.
So would Jennifer be the point of contact if we had somebody from one of our subregions that wanted? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is important to know. 15 that are currently registered, meaning recognized by the school as a club. So there's many more that are kind of pending or in the process to get there, but there's currently 15 that are registered. So that's really huge.
Yeah, and places like Chicago, they've already started doing activity and meetings. But yeah, I'll get an update soon on that one, for example.
Dahlia, did you have something else?
That was the main question.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, Teresa, you can wrap it up with a final comment. I think she's been hanging around Japanese people a lot. All right, well, thank you everyone, for joining. We have about 10 minutes until the next call. So at 9 o'clock sharp, we'll start the YSP and Ocean Challenge call. All right, thank you. See you, Teresa. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Teresa. Thank you.
Thanks, Randall.